You know, something really profound is happening right now, and it's completely changing what it means to have a professional career. For decades, our value was all about what we knew. But in this new age of machine intelligence, that whole deal is being torn up and rewritten. So let's explore what this new contract actually looks like. This quote, this really just sets the stage for everything we're about to get into. It points to this massive change in where the human mind creates value. See, the game isn't about having the answer anymore. It's about designing the system that finds the answer. And that, to me, is a way more interesting puzzle to solve. So let's start with what feels like a mystery. The established order, right? The world of the professional knowledge worker, it's being totally disrupted. The big question is why? What's fundamentally changed? Okay, let's go back a bit. Way back in 1959, the legendary management thinker Peter Drucker came up with this term. He saw this new class of professionals, doctors, lawyers, engineers, whose entire value came from the specialized knowledge they kept in their heads. Society gave them status, security, all because they could store and retrieve information. The human brain was really the only game in town. And there it is. That's the rupture. The basic bargain of the knowledge economy, your ability to memorize stuff in exchange for status, that contract is now void. Why? Because large language models are, hands down, the most powerful memorization engines ever built. They don't just match us at recall, they blow us out of the water in scope and speed. They've essentially made the core skill of the old school knowledge worker a commodity. So this brings us to the really important part of our investigation. If the machine is now the king of memorization, what's left for us? What's our unique value? What can the human mind do that a machine is just structurally incapable of doing? This is where it gets super interesting. We have to ask this question straight up. And the answer isn't about trying to outcompete machines at their own game. No way. The answer is found in the differences, in the very fault lines that separate our kind of intelligence from theirs. Okay, so let's look at the clues first up. Grounding. An AI lives in a world of pure text and data. It has no body. It can process the word heavy, sure, but it has no idea what it feels like to pick up something heavy. That's a massive gap. So our job becomes providing that real-world sensory context that the machine is completely blind to. Next clue. Causality. AI is a brilliant pattern matcher. It can see that every time a rooster crows, the sun rises. But it can't understand why. It has no model of the world to know that the planet turning causes the sunrise, which in turn wakes up the rooster. That's on us. We're the ones who have to specify the cause and effect to stop the AI from making dumb mistakes. And then you have this huge one, metacognition. That's basically thinking about thinking. An AI can give you an answer with 100% confidence, even if it's dead wrong. It literally doesn't know what it doesn't know. It can't pause and say, I'm not so sure about this one. That makes our role as the designers of fact checks and validation systems absolutely critical if we want reliable results. And finally, we get to values. An AI can optimize for a goal, like, say, maximize clicks, but it has no internal compass to ask if that goal is actually a good thing. It just operates without any sense of the stakes. Only a human can bring judgment to the table and decide what a meaningful or ethical outcome really looks like. Now, when you see all 7 of these fault lines laid out together like this, the pattern just jumps out at you. It's so striking. Every single limitation on the machine side points directly to a design task on our side. What's left for us, after memorization is gone, is the job of structuring the entire environment for the machine to work in. And that brings us to the hero of our story, the new protagonist who emerges from this completely new landscape. This is the rise of the cognitive architect. So what on earth is a cognitive architect? Well, it's a professional who doesn't do the task, they design the system for the task. They're not writing the code, they're not diagnosing the patient, they're not arguing the case in court. Instead, they're setting the boundaries, building the context, and designing the guardrails that steer raw machine intelligence toward a useful and trustworthy result. This image here just perfectly captures the idea. The architect is the bridge. They're the connection between 2 totally different ways of thinking, blending human intuition and judgment with the insane computational power of the machine. And look, this isn't just some fringe idea. This concept is popping up everywhere. Eric Brynjolfsson talks about a chief
questions officer, someone whose value comes from asking the right questions and then evaluating the answers, not from doing the building.
Campbell Robertson puts another great spin on it. He talks about the shift from the knowledge worker to the judgment worker. The value isn't in what you know anymore, it's in what you do with what the AI knows. It's about applying wisdom and taking responsibility for the outcome. All right, so if this is the new job description, what does a cognitive architect actually do? Like, what's in their toolkit on a day-to-day basis? Let's break down the core functions. The architect's job really comes down to these 6 things. They design the constraints, the rules of the game for the AI. They engineer the pre-context, feeding it the right background info. They build feedback loops so the system can correct itself, and a validation architecture to know what success even looks like. They act as a translator, a semantic bridge between different fields. And maybe most importantly, they define the purpose, the ultimate why behind the whole system. See? It's all about the why and the how, not the what. To make this less abstract, just think about how modern AI systems are built. The human architect doesn't sit there and write the code for every little step. No, they design the high-level workflow, like a flowchart, that shows how different AIs, different tools, and human review steps all connect to each other. They design the flow of intelligence.
This brings us to the end. And I get that this whole shift can feel unsettling, like we're losing something solid. But I think it's better to see it not as a loss, but as an evolution. It's kind of like a homecoming for what our minds are truly best at.
And that gets us to the really powerful trade-off at the heart of all this. We are giving up the comfort of certainty, of having the one right answer in our own heads. But what we get in exchange is leverage, the incredible power that comes from designing a system that can find any answer. And that's why I call it a homecoming. For centuries, our tools were so limited that they forced our minds to act like glorified filing cabinets. We spent entire careers just memorizing things a machine can now recall instantly. This shift frees us up to finally focus on our superpowers: creativity, strategic thinking, critical judgment, and asking the big questions about why. So the final question really is for you. The ground beneath our feet has moved. Your value isn't in what you know anymore, it's in the systems you can design. So are you ready to be an architect?